Good evening. Welcome to Progressive Soup. My name is David Stevenson. I'll be tonight's host, and I'm also a foster parent. Why does that matter tonight? Well, it matters because we're talking about adoption and foster care, the process involved, and how, I won't say it's easy to do, but I think a lot of people watching would be very good foster parents and don't necessarily recognize that. Basically, mainly what it takes is to love kids and want to have another loving person in your household. But we have with us principal guests Yvette Newton and Ken Meisegland, who are going to explore and discuss what's actually involved in the adoption and foster care process. Ken, Yvette?
Great. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to come on your show along with Brian and Susan, some of our foster parents that are here with us tonight. You know, you hit it right on the head when you talked about what our kids need who are in state custody. We are looking for people who love kids. We are not interested, nor does it predominantly matter, the income that you make, the size of your house, whether you are a stay-at-home parent or a working parent, or even what your family constellation looks like. If you want to provide a home for children, nurture, love them, help them become more resilient to the world around them, we want you to join our team. Most importantly, if you are a relative and you know that somebody that you are related to is in DCF custody, we absolutely need you to come forward and provide care to your family member.
So it could be somebody that's actually related to you that comes to live with you either on a permanent basis or a temporary basis, or it could be someone that you don't know.
Absolutely. As Yvette and I see every day in our work, kids come into care of all different ages, backgrounds, and for many different reasons. If you are a child's school teacher, if you are a grandparent, if you are somebody who is unrelated to anybody in our care, but have a desire to be that person in a very vulnerable and oppressed child's life, we want you to call 188-KID-HERO, or look us up on the DCF website, www.ctfosteradopt.com. We need good people. We will always need good people, either for short-term foster care, respite care, or long-term to adopt our kids.
And specifically, we desperately need homes that will accept children that are either sibling groups, teens. It's very difficult to find families that would be interested in caring for a teenager, infants, children that have medically complex needs. It's always...
Yeah. And even sibling groups. I mean, imagine you are an older child, perhaps 10 years of age, and you have a sister and a brother, 7 years and 6 years. Some of our foster homes can only take 2 children at a time. Some of our foster homes take 3 or 4 children at a time. There's a great opportunity there to keep siblings together, to allow them to bond, continue to nurture each other, and continue to look out for each other while they are away from their birth parents. So as Yvette said, we really have a need for 4 dramatic areas, actually 5. First and foremost, relatives, which is a major initiative and statement our department is making anywhere we go. The second piece there is babies, adolescents, sibling groups, and children that are medically complex, children that perhaps have feeding tubes, some degree of physical challenge, that somebody very skilled, and we will provide that person that skilled training, can be that one person in that child's life to really nurture and love them back to health.
And Debbie and I had a lot of those kinds of kids through our household. One of the questions that was on everyone's mind, including ours going in, was, if I take a child in for a period of time, won't I fall in love with it, and won't it be very difficult to have that child leave our home and go back to either the adoptive parent's home, the full-time adoptive parent's home? And I think knowing that in advance, knowing that we would have those feelings, made it much easier to deal with. But here's an important question that everybody wants to know, no matter what's involved in their life. What's in it for me? What benefit is there to a family to have an adoptive child or a respite care child visit them or stay?
It's a great question. You have an opportunity as a foster and adoptive parent to open your home to a child who is going through one of the most, if not the most, traumatic time during their life that time being that they had to be removed and separated from their very own birth parents because they were unsafe. And when we mean unsafe, we mean a child that absolutely no longer can stay in that home environment because we cannot be assured that they will not be severely injured or even fatally injured if they are continually exposed to those conditions. I think it is a wonderful mission in somebody's life to open their home and their hearts to, and I said this before, Connecticut's most vulnerable and oppressed kids. You will see in front of you, and I'm sure Yvette has seen this in her 2 decades of work with our department, children that come to us that are traumatized, they are sad, they are physically ill, they are psychologically damaged and downtrodden. And that job of the foster and adoptive parent builds them back up, loves them, nurtures them, allows them to be more resilient, to heal, become stronger, better, and more able to take on the world around them.
And I hear families say over and over again that they, as the adults, receive so much more from caring for a child. They get so much out of it. They never anticipated.
Absolutely. It opened my mind, amongst other things, to how good a world we live in. Because my son Colby came from natural parents. His natural parents, good people who got involved in drugs, couldn't get out. They made that supreme sacrifice that a parent can make. They recognized that they were not in the long run going to be able to raise Colby, and we had him as a foster child from age 1, and we adopted him when he was about 4 years old. And they made that sacrifice along the way, which I think speaks well of them as human beings. So kids don't always come, I don't think, from horrible experiences. They come from families that just don't have the skill sets to raise a child.
Right. And the department absolutely believes in reunification first when a child has to come into our care. And what I sometimes think we miss when talking about foster care, especially, is that so many of our foster parents develop a relationship with the birth parents, co-parent that child. Absolutely. That child, 60% of the time, actually goes home to the birth parent. And now look, you have a child that couldn't stay with their birth parents. They went to a loving, stable home. Those caretakers know the birth parents. The two sets of parents now see each other. That child sees in front of them the connection between the people that raised them and the temporary caregivers. Now that child goes home to the birth parent. That foster parent continues that relationship. So you have the child going home stronger, more resilient, healthier emotionally, psychologically, and physically, to a parent who now knows, wow, you took care of my son, so you know what, if things start to get a little rough again down the line, I'm going to call you for respite, I'm going to call you for a little break, I'm going to call you because you know my child just like I do, and you're going to make that lifelong connection with the birth parents.
What
as Yvette said,
a great story. It's almost like you're extending your family outward to other families and becoming a small village, if you will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, during the month of May, staff like Yvette and so many others put on great events to celebrate National Foster Care Month. I met so many foster parents personally who still have great relationships with foster children that were placed in their home 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10 years ago. And what they say is they keep coming back. And Yvette hit this right on the head earlier, because the kids give them even more than they could ever imagine. Self-satisfaction, gratitude, a great feeling to know that you are giving back to society and to kids.
It's awesome.
And of course, as part of the event in Newtown that my director Jeff and I came down and visited with, the overriding idea was got love. That was the overarching thought for the get-together, got love. And quite frankly, that's basically mostly what it takes. And we had some great experiences, met a lot of great people, a lot of great adoptive families and their foster children. And it was just a super experience. Tell us more about the event.
It was. Well, it was actually Yvette and her staff in the Danbury office that organized it. So I'm going to give all the credit to her. So maybe you can describe.
Very exciting. We had all kinds of family activities. We had NASCAR driver, Tom Zegedy there in his car. We had face painting and all kinds of arts and crafts and things like that. We had vendors, we had food, ice cream. We had an artist come, his name is Matt Kennan, and perform, and he was adopted himself.
A young man who was adopted.
Yeah.
And now he's grown up and he has
made a success of himself.
A good life, a good upbringing to look back on, and he's all the better for it.
He attributes it,
and it makes us all the better as a society, as a group, as a city, as a society. You know, everybody's a part of it. Of course, the adoptive or foster parents are the real heroes, as we know by the phone number 1-800-KID-HERO. Very true about that. But it's just amazing what can happen to your life when you bring a child into your life. Go on.
But it was nice because we had our families that are already licensed that participated, so we could honor them and thank them for what they do. And then we also invited the public so they could hear more about foster care and adoption and just bring awareness. So we had some public officials there say some words, and it was really a great day.
Yeah. We had the mayor, we had a couple probate judges, and Yvette did a great job in organizing Matt to come. Matt not only performed, but he spent a nice amount of time the night before with some of our kids in care, talking to them about his experiences. And unbeknownst to us, he actually was injured and
right
fell
before.
during the week, but still managed to come out and be a part of the day. So again, when there's people out there right now listening to the show thinking, wow, can I do this? We want people to call us. Even if you have an idea or a thought or a question, 1-888-KID-HERO, KIDHERO, or you can look us up on the website, ctfosteradopt.com.
ctfosteradopt.com. We're going to go to the tape a little bit from the picnic that we're talking about, so people can get a feel for what a great picnic it was and what a great time it was with everyone being there as families and part of a big family for a day.
Good afternoon. This is Ken Meisegland, Director of the Office of Foster Care and Adoption for the State of Connecticut Department of Children and Families. And with me is Gene Fiorito, the Executive Director of the Connecticut Association of Foster and Adoptive Parents.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for being here.
We're here in Dickinson Park in Newtown celebrating Family Fun Day, which is to raise awareness for the need for foster and adoptive parents around the state. We have a great entertainer, Matt Kennan, who's here. Actually, Matt is adopted, and hopefully we'll hear from him later. And Gene and I have been walking around meeting everybody and really offering support and encouragement to anybody who's interested in becoming a licensed foster and adoptive parent.
There are 3,300 foster families already in the state of Connecticut, and we're really hoping that you will consider joining the numbers. We have loads and loads of kids who need adoptive homes and who also need a chance to be in a family set, and we really need you to join us and to consider being part of the group that is available to help kids who cannot return to their own families and therefore need a family to live in.
You know, as Gene and I see every day in our work, we have 4,800 children in the state of Connecticut that are placed into foster care, actually placed in out-of-home care, of which about 3,200 are in foster homes. So there's the increasing need every day to license, recruit, and train more families. So really what we're looking for is people who love kids. If you're interested in any of the remotest sense, please dial or call us at 1-888-KID-HERO. That's 1-888-KIDHERO. Or you can look up on our website, ctfosteradopt.com, and you can find out some more information. So please join us and be a very valuable member of our team.
Thank you.
Today was gonna be the day. He'd already wrote the note and parked that Chevrolet at the end of that dead-end road. Had his finger on the trigger, just about to end everything. He was taking one last long breath when he heard his cell phone ring. And his best friend said, man, where you been? We're heading down to the lake this weekend. You better not miss it, 'cause buddy, I swear it won't be the same if you ain't much you were coming along, and her eyes lit up. I better let you go. Man, I really hope I didn't catch you in the middle of anything. He said you kinda did, but I don't mind at all. I'm glad you called. In another town down the road, in the backseat of a car, 2 18-year-olds had let a kiss go too far. He said, how we gonna have this child when we're both headed off to school? He convinced her late one night there's only one thing to do. She was scared to death in that waiting room when the nurse asked how far along are you. She said 5 weeks, and just about then her phone lit up and his call came in saying, baby, I was wrong about everything. I've already bought you a diamond ring. We're gonna start a life. Would you be my wife? Boy or girl, pink or blue, yeah, either way. All she could say as she felt those teardrops fall. I'm so glad you called.
What a great day that was, and I had, of course, lots of fun walking around and talking to people, and of course, petting those animals was a lot of fun too. So that was a nice touch to have them there for the kids and for the older kids too to get to know. We had a question from the audience while we were away about respite foster care, about adoption, about foster care. What's the difference? Who's most appropriate for what works best for who, and what are they?
Well, first of all, if anyone is interested, what we'd do is contact DCF, and we would have a conversation with you about any questions you might have as to you're undecided. We can help. It's a mutual assessment as to what's best for you. But foster care is temporary, and typically the placement is immediate. You would get a call from the office that you live closest to, and the child may be placed within an hour or two in your home.
I remember that happening.
Yes.
Yep.
And then visits with birth parents are required per court. Whereas with adoption, that depends on what the agreement is. It depends on if there's an open adoption agreement. So adoption is permanent. The child is placed in your home permanently. Right. Now, while you're fostering, there may be a period of time where you need to go away. You had a trip planned, that type of thing. All of our foster parents are entitled to 14 days of respite per calendar year.
And during that time, the child will be placed in an appropriate family, and everybody understands this is just a little bit of a break in the family's action.
Right. Not all kids actually go into respite care on an annual basis, but as Yvette said, when you are a fully licensed foster or adoptive parent, if in fact there's a break, if in fact the child's needs are becoming somewhat taxing on you, and you say, you know what, let's take a little break here, the child will go into another approved licensed home that we call respite homes, who become a part of our team at DCF with the understanding that they will take children on a very short-term basis. And there's maybe even a step before that. Some of our foster parents become licensed just to take emergency placements at night or on the weekends for a 1 to 2 day period right after the child comes into care, while we can assess who those children are, if they're going to stay in care or not, and then perhaps they move to a foster home that's a little longer in stay. But I think that the point is, and it was a great question by the audience member, you have emergency, respite, regular foster care, adoption. You can tell us, as the prospective foster adoptive parent, what fits into your family and the type of home you wish to provide. We're not going to dictate that for you. During the home study and licensing process, we're going to talk to you about your family constellation, your work schedule, the type of child that you think you would do best with, the age group, Some of our foster families love babies. They want babies. They would prefer a child not over the age of, let's say, 2.
Okay.
Some of our foster families say, look, I do really well with kids 6 through 12. That's great. As Yvette said earlier, we have a real desperate need statewide for families to take adolescents. We have a few foster parents in each area that are attached to each area office that do excellent with adolescents. They love them. So, again, you could tell us the type of child, the age, the number of children you think you would have the capacity to care for, and we will work with you accordingly on that.
So it's actually the foster parents or adoptive parents are the ones that are actually steering the experience.
Absolutely. What we think about here, and I know we're going to talk to Brian and Susan in a little while, our foster parents, I think, are the most important members of a team that are wrapped around a child. The foster parents see those children 24 hours a day. So who you feel comfortable having in your home, the type of child, the age, the characteristics, the number, as part of our team, we want to hear from you and we will work with you to make that happen. But the first step is contacting us, getting involved in an open house to learn more about the department, engaging in our training, engaging in our support network, meeting other foster and adoptive parents, to realize what this responsibility is all about, and also to hear firsthand how rewarding it is. You know, as we were waiting to come on today, there are 4 foster parents that we were talking with outside in the waiting room. No better people than the people we had in the waiting room. And we meet fascinating people all over the state that literally, as Yvette said, after a phone call, will say, yes, have that child come down. We want to provide care for that child. That's an awesome responsibility, and those children give back in exponential ways, in more ways than just saying thank you. You see the child grow. You see the child respond to nurturance. Most importantly, you really teach that child what it's like to be in a family setting and to be loved and nurtured the way they should be, so that they then go on, when they become adults and have their own children, the cycle of abuse and neglect hopefully is broken because they see an alternative way to be raised.
Kids learn good things pretty easily. I think they tend to learn bad things slowly and learn good things quickly.
Right. We think behavior is learned. So a child's going to respond to the environment from which they came.
Yeah. Now, the overriding thing that concerned Debbie and I when we got involved in foster care and respite foster care to begin with was, oh my God, we're going to fall in love with this child that comes into our home. What are we going to do? What are we going to do when that child leaves us to go back to its foster care home or to its adoptive home or even back to the natural parents? But we found that knowing that we'd have those feelings in advance gave us the ability to deal with those feelings.
It prepared you for
it. Preparation was fantastic.
And then your mindset was probably
the mindset was just like that.
But the most important thing is you had those feelings, and I think we're going to hear in a short time, honestly, from our experts who are current foster parents about what to do with those feelings and how to manage that.
Excellent. Oh. Would you like to introduce them, or would you like them to introduce themselves?
Why don't we go ahead? We have with us Brian and Susan, two of our more experienced foster parents who are part of the Danbury Foster and Adoption team. So, welcome. We're thrilled you're here.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, what would you like to tell us about your experience? Just tell us about your experience. What's it done for you? What's it done for the kids? What's it done for the kids? What's it done for you? How have you benefited from being a parent again?
It's really hard to put into words how we've benefited, but it has made myself and Brian and our family a much happier, more understanding family. We appreciate every day that we had. We appreciate our own biological children in maybe somewhat a different way now than we did. The foster children are just there with us, and almost from the minute they arrive after that phone call, maybe 30 minutes, bring them in, go upstairs, give them a bath. They just become part of our home, like they've been there forever.
You know, what I found was that the kids are so appreciative just to have the stability of a home, just to have that stability and that little bit of improvement over the situation they're coming out of, that they show that appreciation in many, many wonderful ways, not just to you, but probably to your kids also. Same thing with Debbie and I, with our two older children. Were much appreciated by the children that came into our home, and us allowing them to be part of our family, either short-term or ultimately with Colby long-term. What have you found with that?
I found that my children, who are older and grown and on their own, and we do have grandchildren, do appreciate seeing what we're doing. And it's kind of given them an open mind when they've been approached in different situations where they're like, yeah, I might do that. More of a mentoring thing is what I'm thinking of right now.
So they've enjoyed being part of this big extended family
but
that's
they
developed.
Look like they might want to try it someday. And they look to us and say, you know, you're our role model for that. But they don't always do it in the level of, you know, state DCF. Mm-hmm. They do it with friends and neighbors and just seeing people. Our son is a soccer coach. He sees lots of underprivileged children. He takes them under their wing and has started to kind of almost do it just like on his own, but not through the state. But if he was offered, because a situation came up, he was willing to do it, but only because we've shared our children with him.
Excellent. Yvette, Ken, is this a typical situation, what you see?
Absolutely. I hear all the time that birth children of foster and adoptive parents benefit so much from having this experience. They learn so much from having the foster kids in their home. You know, they become, as you said, mentors, role models. Right. They embrace them, and it just makes the home environment so much more enriched.
Yeah,
that's what I found. Yeah,
I agree. I actually have 8 adopted brothers and sisters, and I can understand what it's like when, you know, mom and dad said, you know what, you're going to have a new sibling, you're going to have a new brother or sister. It just makes you appreciate what you have so much more. But also, again, we talked about as a foster and adoptive parent, giving back and feeling that gratification. I actually always felt that as a birth son, seeing my adopted brothers and sisters and knowing that them being in my family and me being a part of their family, we both assisted each other. And you know, it's really wonderful to hear that. You know, you said within a half hour of the child being there, by virtue of giving them a bath, they became part of your family. That's exactly what we're looking for in prospective families, that just accept the child for who they are who they are, they act how they act, they need your home, they need your stability, and we want people to embrace the children as their own, knowing that at some point they're most likely going to go back to the birth parents, but the time spent with your family is invaluable to their both short, intermediate, and long-term welfare.
I liken it to my friend. I had a friend down the street. Of course, I grew up, as the audience knows, I grew up Irish. And I had a friend down the street, Johnny Girardi, and I'd go down to play with John when I was a kid. And Alice, his mom, was one of those very welcoming parents who would come in. Oh, you look so skinny. Come have some pasta fazool, you know. And really, in fact, adoptive parents and foster parents are sort of like that, in that they're kind of people that can have someone come into their home and they'll bond with them very quickly and appreciate them. Perhaps that's a fair comparison.
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, I think even if you have a child in your home for a day, if you adopt them for a lifetime, you give so much. I mean, you can make such an impact on a child. You know, in any period of time, they take that with them. If they're going to go home with their birth parents, you have given them something to take with them.
Make someone's life a better life and make the world a better place.
Yep.
And that's why Kid Hero, 1-888, Kid Hero.
You bet. You know, we also, speaking of, you know, role models and giving back, it's really important for our kids to have positive male influences. And, you know, Brian being here, being a male figure, allowing children to see the other side of involved parents, involved men, those positive male role figures and role models is really, again, invaluable to their development to experience that.
Yeah, being a dad's it's a pretty cool thing, and if you're able to actually spend a little time with your kids, a lot of dads are preoccupied with traditionally with taking care of the family in other ways.
Right.
But to actually get involved and be a dad and bond with even your own kids or with foster kids or adoptive kids, it's just a cool thing.
It is, and we can talk up here as the adults about how rewarding it is for us and the ways in which we feel we give back to children. I know that in a little while, in the later part of the show, you're going to hear from one of our experts who is actually one of our youth in care, who can really tell from firsthand experiences what it's like and really what placements he did really well in and why. And I think that's really important for the viewing audience to hear and listen to firsthand from one of our kids.
So it's not a big mystery. It's just people being people and people getting to know new people. And again, tell our audience a little bit about what your experience, how long, how many kids?
Sure. We've been doing it for a little over 6 years. I think our license was in the mail, and we already had our first 2 placements.
Wow.
1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So we were very happy. We've had over 17 different children, usually from 0 to 3. However, we did take a 10 and a 12-year-old. We recently took a 16-year-old and her 4-day-old baby.
Interesting.
Yes,
so
it was
real
very
extended
interesting.
family.
Yes, she spoke no English, only Spanish, and had only been in the country a couple of months. And she felt good in our house. She felt comfortable. She felt safe. And we did that by translating on our computer. We would type, translate into Spanish, and then she could write back to us. I also have a daughter-in-law who speaks Spanish, and I had her come over the first night and help her get set up with the baby, help her show her how to do things.
Cool.
This was her first child at 16. And so that worked out really well. I use all resources that I can think of. I stop at nothing. I'll call anyone at 12 o'clock at night. Anytime I can think of who's the right person for the situation, I don't hesitate to ask. So we've been doing it for quite a long time. We have also been very fortunate to keep in contact with probably half of our 17 that we've had, and some very close with. Our first child that we had, they came at 1 and 3. This past March, we went to her biological mom's home and celebrated her 7th birthday. So that was a really special day for all of us. And we still continue to see that mom and the children all the time. We have a really great story. Our second placement was a little girl, 11 months old. Her parents, a little bit similar to your story, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, had drug or alcohol issues, and their child was removed. She was in our home. At that time, Brian and I would drop the child off for the visits at DCF. And we got to meet the birth parents. And right from the start, the first thing we said was, Brian and I are just here to take care of your child until you get your child back. We have our own children, we have our own grandchildren. We're just doing this so you can take care of yourselves. So that was about 5 years ago. This October, we are going to Florida. The mom and dad are finally getting married. And the little girl we had, who is now 6, will be the flower girl in the wedding. And we've been invited. So we're so honored to see a story where, for us as foster parents, that's a happy ending.
That's fantastic.
And on the other side of the coin, the parents who have problems and are unable to fully or completely or even at all raise their own child. I'll say this for my son's mom and dad. They had their problems, but they made what I consider to be the ultimate sacrifice. They recognized that long term they would not be able to take care of their son and raise him properly. So they made the most incredible sacrifice that the human beings can make, is to give up their child, knowing that their child will benefit from being in another home. And I think that's just incredible. And they're great people, and Colby kept in touch with them. His mom passed away years later. His dad is, I think, been in and out of prison. We haven't seen him in quite a while. But as long as we could, we kept him in touch with them. He knows his entire extended family through his mom and his dad. And well, the kid grew up with 8 sets of grandparents, so what can I tell you? Because he had my parents, my wife's parents, and their newer families. Kobe's. Well, at any rate, there were a lot of grandparents involved along the way, and it was just, it was a very intriguing dynamic to be involved in a situation like that.
Yes,
So.
and one thing about the biological, staying in touch with the biological parents is pretty much, like I said, right from when they first come, depending on their age.
Mm-hmm.
A 3-year-old is very scared.
Yeah.
Understands a lot, but not enough to know everything. And what we like that helps us is if within a few days the biological family, someone can send in like a photo album, because we don't know their siblings, we don't know their grandparents. But this way we can kind of keep their spirit alive, let them know that they're still being cared for by these people while they're staying with us, that they still love them. We put pictures up of the youngest children on our refrigerator, keep showing them when they're infants, this is your mom and dad, this is your mom and dad. So, as always, they say pictures are the best. And it does help us communicate and let them know that we love their family too, as well as them.
Then that's part of what it takes to be good at this, to be a good foster parent or adoptive parent. It's just a matter of being a good human being and be adaptive to situations and want to give a little something back to the world that we're in.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in what the experiences are for Brian being a foster father in all of this.
Well, I have to say that other than deciding to get married,
Okay.
deciding to become foster parents is the best decision we ever made.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
It's as simple as that.
So there's a lot to be gained on your end, too.
I have pictures of each of our 17 foster children and our 4 grandchildren facing me at my desk at work.
Oh, that's great.
I can get through anything,
That's superb.
anything at all.
We are going to go to another film clip, and then we'll come back. So, watch.
We're here in Dickinson Park in Newtown, Connecticut, with recording artist Matt Kennan. Matt, tell us what brought you down here today and a little bit about your story.
I'll tell you, myself being an adoptee, is very important for me to be a part of that and support those efforts. I know how important it is to be adopted and have a family and be raised by a loving family. So I've experienced that through my life, and it's my hope that all these all these kids and children have the same blessings in their life.
That's excellent. We're so thankful you came down. My understanding is you actually spent time with a number of our foster and adoptive kids last night.
I did last night, and I tell you, it was an honor to be there and just made some great friends. You know, it's kind of like I feel like a big brother to them.
Absolutely. You know what I think is great is that they got to meet you and see you, and then you performed with us today. And you know, anybody who's interested in being a foster and adoptive parent, we encourage them to dial 1-888-KID-HERO or look us up on the ctfosteradopt.com website. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. When were you adopted, and about some of the meanings of the songs that you wrote?
I was adopted at 5 days old. I was basically brought into this world with nowhere to go. My mother tried to have an abortion with me, but the doctor was able to intervene, and I believe God did. And I was placed into a home with a family that tragically lost 3 kids in a house fire. So I've always just been a gift to them, and you know, nothing could ever fill that void in their life. But they had a son again, and my sister survived the fire. And I always just tell people, you know, I was chosen. Yours had to deal with what they had. That's been my motto my whole life. And there's several country stars and country singers that have been adopted. And I think to be able to sing country music and to be able to be an artist, you have to go through certain things in your life, and that's where my song "The Call" and "That's Love" and several songs we play today are true to life, real life experiences.
Awesome. You have a new album that is coming out. Could you tell us about that, and in particular some of the songs?
Yeah, I've got a new album called 77. It's out right now on iTunes and 300 different digital outlets, and you can also get the CD, T-shirts, and we got a package deal with signed 8x10 autographs on www.mattkennon.com, www.mattkennon.com.
And lastly, you know, I don't think I've ever seen a recording artist come and perform a concert with a sling. So tell us about your story about what happened here, which is a real testament to your dedication.
I'll tell you what, we were rehearsing for this show and actually had a porch swing fall backwards while I was sitting in it, and I broke my shoulder in 2 places and a couple ribs. But like I said, if they'd had to wheel me out here in a wheelchair, it would have been here. So
great. Well, from Dickinson Park in Newtown, you know, we appreciate Matt being here, and Matt, best of luck to you in your career.
Hey, thank you so much. And like this bracelet here, it says "Chosen," and I wear that for that very reason.
Great stuff. Thank you.
We're back, and we have a whole changed cast of characters now. We still have Ken and Yvette, but we also have Jeannie and Sixto. And Jeannie's an adoptive parent, and Sixto is a child of the system. He has come through the adoptive system. He's going to explain a little bit about the changes he's seen in the time that he's been part of this big extended family, which is up here on the stage. First of all, Jeannie, introduce yourself.
My name is Jeannie Kennedy. My husband and I adopted 2 boys. Brandon was 6 when we got him. He's now 16. Dylan was 10, and he's now 17. We are currently fostering teenagers. We love them. We have a special place in our hearts for them. And we feel because no one really wants to take in an older child. They feel they have a lot of issues. And they do, but they really don't. It's just everyday teenagers. They just want to be loved and have a home. And we just thoroughly enjoy doing foster care.
Excellent. Okay, Sixto, stage is yours. Tell us about what you've seen, your experience.
First, my name is Sixto Canto, and I have to say my experience in care has been definitely a roller coaster, ending off really good. So I entered care at 11 months in 1992. I'm now 19, and I was in care until I was about 6, and then I returned home to my biological mother, where I spent a year, 11 months and 3 weeks, and then re-entered the system after that, and then was adopted at the age of 9, and by the age of 15, I re-entered care and been in care ever since I was 15. So it's definitely been a great roller coaster. I've learned many lessons from many different foster parents, and each experience has made me the person who I am today.
So again, with the idea of the extended family, you've had many branches of an extended family tree and different lessons from different situations.
Definitely. Put it that way, yes. Mm-hmm. Each foster home has provided me with a different life skill sets.
Mm-hmm. What's really great now is that Sixto is giving back to the system and has joined us as a member of the team. He does a lot of outstanding work with youth bureaus. He does a lot of public speaking. As a matter of fact, he has been on radio stations promoting foster care and adoption, and really not only just telling his story, but talking about the real meaningful parts about his time in care and really what has made a difference for him.
And people in the audience can certainly identify with the fact that they may have been, under different circumstances, been one of Sixto's stops along the way and been a contributor to his development as a person.
Definitely. I'm excited about the work that's going on right now at DC Department of Children and Families, especially with the new commissioner. Our youth advisory boards are being heard a lot more. So throughout the state, we have local youth advisory boards and then a state advisory board, which main purpose and job is to definitely talk about the issues that go on in care. And then there's also other organizations like Jim Casey Youth Opportunity Initiative, which we are a part of, which is a national MORE initiative that we advocate. So a few people from Connecticut are actually on this national board, including myself, and we fly all over and we get to meet with Congress and senators and different members of different elected officials, and we really implement change here locally and on the national level.
Speaking of adoptive kids who become adults, I want to give a quick shout out to Matt Kennan, who performed during the break at Dickinson Park in Newtown, and again, Matt, an adoptive son, great experience, grew up to be a fabulous adult. That probably would have been a lot more difficult had he not been able to become a part of this big family, this big extended family we're talking about.
Yeah, we agree. And Sixto, maybe you could tell the audience about just those few early things that you remember about the best foster parents that you experienced, and what was it that allowed you to feel comfortable and safe with them?
I say the best foster parents were definitely the parents who were there because they wanted to foster. And that's the thing. A foster child is only a child. The fostering comes in from the fostering parent. So when a parent is willing to love and to accept the child that walks through their doors, no matter how many issues, and makes that child feel like no matter what you do, you're always going to stay here. I'm not calling DCF. I'm not going to tell your social worker I'm sick and tired of you. I'm not going to return you like if you were a package. Then I think that's the moment where we put down our guard and we become less defensive, and we start becoming part of the family.
That's great. That's a great description. And Jeannie, you've heard us say a couple times about the dire need to provide homes for teenagers, but yet you just said you have a special place in your heart for teenagers. Tell us about those experiences.
They're the ones who really... Teenagers are teenagers. They pull the stunts. They do everything they can to get under your skin. But deep down, they want to be part of a family. And if you give them... We don't punish our children. We give them a consequence. Where they have to do, help clean the house, or they can't go to the movies Monday night. They have to stay home. But they respect you for that because they're part of your family. And also, with adoptive, what's very important is to have a very open mind. And if it's possible, stay in touch with the biological family. My one child, he has contact with his siblings, and he speaks to his mother yearly. And through them, we met his grandparents, which is very big for our son.
Wow. Yeah. That's... And again, I guess the overriding thing here is people ask the question, do I have to be a psychologist to deal with teenagers? No, you just have to have good common sense, it seems like.
Common sense, that's it. And just give them a home. And respect them.
And you're not alone. I mean, you have DCF, you have support groups, you have ongoing support from the department.
Yes, we have tremendous support. And even from other adoptive families we've become very close to.
We always had these the great parties, the summertime parties and Christmas parties that we would be part of and see people that we saw periodically through the foster care family. But we would connected with people that we saw periodically and we got the chance to see and to powwow with other adoptive and foster parents and here's a problem I'm having that Debbie and I are having with our son. Well, what do you think? And people will kind of, put their heads together and problem solve the same way that you would problem solve if, let's say, if you were part of a family of 12 kids, and then you grew up, had your own kids, and occasionally got together and problem solved because every kid's different, and every kid has different issues.
Right.
And extended families can help out with those things.
Right. And we do get tremendous support from DCF. The child has their own social worker, and us foster parents have our own social worker. So
there's always somebody to talk to if there's an
exactly.
issue.
Exactly.
And the end result of that support and allowing your family to open its doors to a child, like we have said numerous times tonight, are that kids heal and they become more resilient. The real positive outcomes are individuals like Sixto. Sixto, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what you just currently have done, and what you're going to do in the future in your career goals?
Well, there's a few things that have been going on in the department with the advisory board. One of our greatest success, though, is that a group of us had got together and we understood that because of the movement that we make as foster children, that sometimes we lag behind in school. So we created a pilot program that would focus on remedial work to get us on grade level. And it actually just completed its first year, and now it's being looked at to expand statewide. So that's one of the greater accomplishments beyond a lot of other accomplishments when we're talking about policy and care, when we're talking about making life just on a day-to-day basis better for our youth in care, different practices that will help us. And so those are the things that are going on. And for the future, I don't know what my career entails, but I am going to I'll be attending Virginia Commonwealth University in the fall, and I'll be studying political science.
That's awesome.
Virginia Commonwealth.
Isn't that great?
Excellent.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, Sexto just shows that with a lot of work and support behind them, you can do whatever you want to do.
All right, Sixto. Cool.
It's great stuff. Great stuff. So, Jeannie, what would you say to people that are, again, out there kind of saying, can I do this? Is it the right time? Should I call that 188-KID-HERO number? Bring them in.
Call the 1-800-KID-HERO number. Go to an open house and see what it's about. If you love children, you'll love doing this program. It's wonderful. It's brought my husband and my 2 boys a lot of joy. And after a child leaves our house, we sit down and ask, do you want to do it again? And the answer is always yes.
Wow.
That's great. And the process is easy, and
Very
just
easy.
Contact the department, and we will meet with you. We'll talk to you, and like you said, come to an open house, get some more information, ask the questions, and go from there. Get started.
Get started. It would be the best thing you can do for yourself.
It's so annoying to complain about the world and the problems in the world, but it's so rewarding to be a small part of the solution, to be part of giving something to humanity and being a part of a child's life and letting a child be a part of your life, and then looking back years later and saying, wow, this young man, as an example, this young man was in my home, and look at him now. I am so proud to have been a part of his life and continue to be a part of his life.
One thing, me and my boss, Diane Zello, and she works with foster, and we work for Foster and Adoptive Mission. One of the things we always say about foster parenting is that it's a calling. Just like anything else in life, just like any service that you do in ministry or anything that you do in life, it's definitely a calling that you know when this is right for you. So if you feel in your heart that this is something that you may be interested in, then explore it, because you don't know who you can foster, you don't know whose life you can change, you don't know how much better you can make another person feel. So definitely call 1-888-KID-HERO.
Great spokesman for us. Right?
He is.
No one better. No one better. So, and again, we opened the show, I think you used the term, we want people that love kids. That's just the bottom line, is what we're really talking about here tonight. All the efforts that Yvette does to recruit and organize fantastic events throughout Danbury with her staff, they should really be commended. Jeannie sitting up here talking about adolescents and what they give to her and meeting their family. And certainly Sixto, we are so proud as a department to see him and wish him the best as he goes on to college. The downside of him going to college is he's going to be in another state, so we're going to have to handle all the interviews he's used to doing. So now we have a lot more work because he's going on to college. But he's really an ambassador for us and a role model to kids younger than him about what it takes, what the outcome is to be strong and to be resilient and to really advocate for yourself, throughout the system. And certainly he's had some tough knocks in his life, but boy, look at him now, and look at who he has become, certainly with the help of a lot of great people out there and some well-timed placements with families along the way.
And there's an opportunity out there now for somebody to be the next Sixto.
That's right.
And you'll pass the baton, and you'll have done your part for the world and help make the world a better place, in exchange for what other people have done for you, to help make you a better person and help you grow and develop.
You bet.
It's all about giving, but there's always that, in life there's always that component, what's in it for me? Everybody wants to know with every decision they make in their life, what's in it for me? Well, I think it's pretty apparent that there's a lot in it for that foster family, that adoptive family. There's a lot in it for them too. There's a lot to be gained by giving.
You bet.
By giving. Yes.
And just to recap.
No, go ahead.
And just to recap, there's so many ways people can get involved, and definitely, we definitely can foster. And sometimes fostering is not exactly where you want to start off, and respite is okay. And sometimes me and my boss joke about being respite parents being like the official babysitter for the Department of Children and Family, because they're the ones who get to care for the kids for a couple of hours or a week or two days, depending on how much respite is needed. And then there's also mentoring, and that plays a great role in a lot of our kids' lives, is that we need mentors. We need someone we can look up to who's not necessarily living with us, and sometimes we can go places with them when our foster parents are preoccupied doing everything else. And then there's also adoption.
So it's also actually sort of respite care on a very small basis. Right. Mentoring for an hour here, an hour there, stepping into a child's life and sharing an experience with them and giving them something and getting the satisfaction of knowing that you've provided something for them, even if it's for a couple of hours. I wonder if there have been many people that have started out doing mentoring and found their way into a more long-term.
It's a great question. We've actually had people start out just simply to be mentors for kids that have turned into placements. So again,
well,
if you
just
have
like
an
on
inkling,
just like on Progressive Soup, we always end up this way. We always end up running out of time. It's been Progressive Soup, a great discussion about foster care and adoption, and I hope we've stimulated you, the audience, to look into this noble effort and rewarding effort. Thank you very much. Good evening.